Satou is a virgin loser nerd and possibly the most average person to ever exist. However, everything changes when he gets transported to another world where he's crowned king and is the only hope to save humanity. But in order to do so, he must marry 5 princesses and lay the pipe on them to obtain his powers. One day, while Satou is up in a tree looking for bugs like a nerd, a sudden beam of light hits him, making him to kiss the ground. Confused, he stares at the glowing portal that appears in front of him. Out step an old man and a cute girl, leaving Satou wondering if they're aliens. The cute girl asks for his name, and he nervously introduces himself, like a 40-year-old virgin. She calls herself Hime and warns him not to tell anyone about what he's seen. Before he can process it, she casts a spell to erase his memory, and then offers to be his sorry guys I mean friends. For some reason, this makes Satou feel like he has to protect her, and he senses this responsibility might last a long time. 10 years later, Satou finds himself living with Hime, who's already taking on wifely duties without them ever having a wedding. One morning, she wakes him up for breakfast. Surprised at the well-prepared meal, he asks how she managed it so early. She excitedly explains she woke up early because the school break starts that day. Reflecting on their 10 years of friendship, Satou suddenly loses his mind when he notices his melons are growing bigger.
I caught you in 4K.
Admiring how much she's changed since starting high school, Hime playfully teases him. These are her new qualities have made her stand out, adding that she is a princess. Confused, Satou asks what she means, since she's been calling herself that for years. She doesn't answer, but instead she leans into him. But this is not what you think, guys. She plucked a grain of rice off his face, eating it in a way at which every sigma got melt. So his rocket is ready to take off, and my rocket is ready to take off. On their way to school, Satou notices her melons. The ring pendant is bouncing on her chest. He remembers her telling him how important the rings are and how she plans to give one to the person she marries. When Hime had once asked if he'd marry her, but this Sigma male says no to her. But as he stares at the pendant now, Hime catches him looking and casually crushes his hopes by telling him he's not even in the running to be her future husband, joking that he's grown up to be ugly loser. Her teasing leaves him quietly disappointed. At school, Hime flaunts her top exam scores, telling her friends it's because she's a princess, not any other ugly bitch.
Emotional damage!
They laugh, questioning what princess she could possibly be. Meanwhile, Satou's friend, who looks like a monkey, complains about being single during the break and teases Satou for being lucky to clap Hime every day. Later, Satou gets a text from Hime inviting him to the summer festival. She waves at him, making him blush and wonder if she likes him, though he quickly doubts it due to his ugly confidence like his ugly face. That evening, Satou shows up in his school uniform and is almost dyed by Hime's beauty. As they wander the festival, she teases him about being her hero as a kid but now a loser. Later, she wants a lollipop and guys Satou is ready to drop his pant off, but she says win plushie for her then she will his lollipop. So he awkwardly tries to impress her by getting her a plushie. Shooting in James Bond style, he just won a plushie and he got executed. Later, Satou and Hime end up in a quiet spot, and he decides it's the perfect moment to drop his pant off. Sorry guys I mean confess his feelings. Just as he's about to say he loves her, fireworks interrupt him. Hime then tells him she has something important to share, and he hopes she feels the same way. To his shock, she reveals she's leaving the next day to return to her grandfather's homeland, a faraway place. Speechless, Satou walks her home. She thanks him for the memories and quickly runs inside before he can respond. That night, Satou wonders about her mysterious homeland and realizes he knows less about her than he thought. Suddenly, a familiar beam of light appears outside his room. Remembering the day he first met her, he rushes to the source. At the portal, Hime prepares to leave. Satou yells her name, pleading with her to stay. She is surprised he remembers everything and explains she isn't just moving, she's returning to another world to get married. Heartbroken, Satou tries to stop her but is too late. Determined not to lose her, he abandons his world and leaps into the portal after her. Satou finds himself in a grand palace where Hime is about to marry another dumb as the ceremony begins. An abyss monster suddenly crashes in, targeting Hime. Her grandma reveals they had hidden her in another world to keep her safe. He quickly jumps to confront the monster, but it swats him away like a fly. Frustrated, he says they really need the Ring of Light and tells her to give it to the prince. Instead, Hime runs to Satou, kisses him, and gives him the ring. Her grandfather is shocked, but the prince accepts it and hands Satou his sword. With renewed courage, Satou prepares to face the monster. The clueless Satou thinks the prince handed him the sword just to show him what a real one looks like and has no idea what to do with it. As the sword and the ring start glowing, he blindly charges at the monster and, by sheer luck, defeats it with a single strike. Everyone, including Satou, is stunned, but he collapses immediately afterward. The next day, he wakes up in a lavish room, only for Hime to tell him it's the royal couple's bedroom, leaving him speechless. She teases him about their kiss and asks him should we continue after the kiss, embarrassing him further as he starts wondering if he somehow ended up with the girl he always thought was out of his league, but now she is ready to be clapped. Hime then explains she was supposed to marry the prince, but she barely knew him and didn't want to marry a stranger, so when she saw someone familiar, she chose him instead. While Satou feels disappointed at being her backup choice, she tells him she's chosen him to be their hero. Later, Satou is introduced to the nation as the hero who defeated the Abyss Monster, the Ring King, and the savior of the land. Feeling like he's in a dream, he's asked to give a speech but nervously shouts out some nonsensical words. The useless crowd is equally clueless, cheers wildly, accepting him as their hero. While Satou is taking a bath, he reflects on how reckless his choices have been. Suddenly, Hime appears, awkwardly walking in with her massive melons, but she quickly gets almost died when he notices her. She nervously explains that they're newlyweds now, so it shouldn't be weird, though both feel awkward. They end up in the bath together, and Hime, feeling guilty, admits she dragged him into her mess. She confesses she knew all this would happen when she gave him the ring. Blinded by his feelings, Satou assures her he's fine, pretending to understand the situation. He even says he doesn't mind staying by her side in this world if it's something only he can do, surprising her. The moment reminds her of how he used to protect her from bullies when they were kids. Meanwhile, Satou is no longer a Sigma male as tries to take a peek glances at her melons, but she quickly hides herself, warning him not to give him. Suddenly, an alarm bell rings. Satou jumps up in panic, unintentionally revealing his lollipop to her. She's as shocked and thinking this is so big, and I hope guys she is happy after seeing like this one. The commotion is about several abyss monsters appearing, and soldiers beg for the Ring King to fight. Satou is confused, having thought the title Ring King just meant he could clap Hime at any time. When he insists he can't fight, Hime's grandfather coldly says it doesn't matter as long as he's wearing the ring. Reluctant but realizing the seriousness, Satou grabs a nearby bat, which begins glowing. He tells Hime that, although he doesn't understand much about this world, he'll do whatever he can because it clearly means a lot to her. Moved, Hime kisses him, boosting his confidence as he prepares to face the monsters. As Satou fights off the abyss monsters, one blocks a little girl and moves to attack her. Satou suddenly appears and slices the creature clean in two, surprising the girl, who runs off laughing. Satou is shocked that he's still standing after defeating 3 monsters, unlike before when he collapsed after defeating just one. Hime's grandfather explains that the kiss Satou shared with Hime strengthened him, as their bond as husband and wife powers the ring. He adds that a prince's duty fill her mouth constantly. Sorry guys, I means princess's duty is to provide strength to her king in battle. Realizing this, Satou awkwardly recalls why Hime put her saliva in his mouth earlier. However, the old man warns that Satou's current strength won't last long, so he's there to help. Satou doubts the old man's abilities, but the situation changes when the Knight of the Abyss King suddenly appears. Seeing the ring on Satou's finger, the old man becomes visibly nervous. Satou notices that this knight feels far stronger than the previous monsters, but his confidence from Hime's kiss makes him charge ahead recklessly. Before the old man can stop him, the knight summons a powerful gust of wind, slamming Satou into a wall and breaking his weapon. Satou realizes the ring just saved him from death. The old man yells for Satou to get moving, and they both start running, with Satou still clueless about what's really happening. As Satou and Hime's grandfather run, the Knight of the Abyss King, who look like a black hole, summons 2 monsters to chase after them. The old man laments how powerful the knight is, saying it proves how much the Abyss fears the Ring King. Satou, still clueless, asks what the creature was since it was way too strong for him. The old man explains it's a Knight of the Abyss King, a terrifying monster that wields powerful magic. Satou, surprised to hear about magic, grumbles that he thought Hime's kiss would make him strong enough to handle them. The old man dismisses the complaint, saying they'll talk about it later. Out of nowhere, the old man pulls a move straight out of Avatar, The Last Airbender, raising a massive wall of earth to buy them time. Satou is shocked, but their relief is short-lived as the old man realizes he's trapped them with Mr. Black Hole instead of escaping. Panicking, the old man mutters about being pincered, while Satou wonders what will happen next. Suddenly, Prince Mars appears, wrapping Mr. Black Hole in a cloth and setting it ablaze. With the threat temporarily neutralized, Mars tells Satou and the old man that a carriage is waiting to take them out of the castle. Satou hesitates, worrying about Hime, but Mars firmly tells him to follow orders and leave her to him. A while later, Satou and the others are in a carriage. This is the reason why I can't concentrate myself, tell me in the comment. If you are also unable to focus, fleeing the castle like cowards, which, for now, is the smartest move if they want to avoid an early trip to the underworld. Satou thanks Prince Mars for saving them, and the prince introduces himself as the second prince of the Hezis Empire, a neighboring kingdom of the Kingdom of Light. Satou asks the old man if the castle will be safe now. The old man explains that since the Abyss is after the Ring King and his rings, the monsters will start searching elsewhere once they realize Satou is gone. However, he warns that defeating the high-ranking Abyss monsters will be difficult without the power of light. Upon hearing this, Satou tells him that it means he must be the one to take action, reminding him they're fleeing because Satou isn't strong enough yet. Shocked, Satou asks what he means by not enough power. The old man explains that the ring Satou has only holds a small portion of the Ring King's true power. To unlock his full potential, he will need the other 4 rings. Satou, baffled, asks how he's supposed to get them. The old man reveals that the rings are held by 4 other princesses, and Satou will need to marry them to claim the rings. This revelation leaves Satou stunned, while the old man jokes that he's living the ultimate dream, marrying 5 princesses. Hime, however, is visibly unhappy about it. They eventually reach an inn for the night. Before going to bed, the old man decides to teach Satou some history. He explains that long ago, the world was nearly consumed by the Abyss, bringing despair and darkness to countless nations. The original Ring King created 5 rings imbued with magic, light, fire, wind, earth, and water to fight the Abyss. After a long and brutal battle, he successfully defeated and sealed away the Abyss King. Afterward, the old man explains that the original Ring King married 5 princesses, and the 5 rings were passed down through their nations as symbols of their bond. Unfortunately, the Abyss King has been revived and is regaining power. It's now the duty of the current Ring King to obtain the rings from the 5 princesses and use their combined strength to seal the Abyss once again. Later that night, Satou and Hime are in the same room, both awkwardly embarrassed by their new arrangement. Suddenly, Satou feels sharp pain from his earlier wounds. Hime rushes to his side, and seeing the injuries, she feels guilty and blames herself for choosing him as the Ring King. Overwhelmed, she runs out of the room. Satou quickly follows but loses sight of her. As he searches, he runs into Prince Mars and asks if he's seen her. Mars says she just passed by and, understanding the situation, tells Satou that being the Ring King is a heavy burden and that the weight of this responsibility can sometimes feel overwhelming. Satou tries to brush off the weight of being the Ring King, pretending he's fine, but Prince Mars sees through him. Mars thanks him for stepping up, shocking Satou. He admits he's relieved he avoided the duty himself and praises Satou for leaving his world behind to follow the woman he loves. Satou, left speechless, listens as Mars directs him to where Hime is. Satou rushes to find her, and upon seeing her, he confesses his love, revealing that he came to this world because he wanted to be with her. Surprised, Hime admits she doesn't want her husband to bear all the burdens of the Ring King alone. However, she's decided to fulfill her role as his wife and asks if he'll accept her as his bride once again. Satou happily agrees. Back in bedroom, the two are in a full mood for some break the bed, but they freeze like a south pole and unable to make any move. Satou, summoning his courage, moves closer and gently pushes Hime down. I think guys, this time we have to see some plot development. Just as he's about to take the first step in this war, something feels off. He pauses and pulls away, leaving Hime confused, expecting a serious explanation. She's baffled when Satou says their first moment together should be more special. She stares at him, wondering if he is the man or not, thinking she maybe chooses Dumbass Ring King. The next morning, Satou and Hime meet with the old man, who's visibly disappointed they haven't do anything in the last night, embarrassing both of them. The old man reminds him that plot developments are what give the Ring King his real strength, urging him to make better use of his better use of his magnum. Prince Mars appears with travel clothes and some protections for Satou, and he and the old man inform them that their next destination is the hidden village of the elves, Ronka. Satou is surprised, and the old man explains that the Ring of Wind is passed down through the elf royal family. On their journey to Ronka, they encounter the Tempest Wall, a magical storm barrier that prevents outsiders from entering. As they navigate through the storm, a large beast suddenly appears, scaring Satou. He panics, assuming it's an abyss monster, but the old man casually says it's just a bear. Feeling braver, Satou approaches to pet it, but the bear immediately chases them instead. As they flee, they reach a point where their only choices are to cross the Tempest Wall into the elf village or let the bear fuck them. Just as the bear is about to attack, a group of elves appears and saves them. The elves ask why they've come to their village, and Satou proudly declares he's the Ring King and is there to clap the elf princess sorry guys he means to meet her. Surprised, the elves admit they've heard rumors about the Ring King's return and agree to take them to her. However, they quietly prepare themselves for things not going as smoothly as expected. The group is led into the elf nation and heads directly to the palace to meet the elf princess. The elf princess, who is busy with 39 others in his bedroom, guys lacking confidence in her looks, hides awkwardly when Satou arrives. Trying to ease the tension, Satou boldly declares he's the hero from another world, surprising her. Embarrassed, she nervously asks if he and Hime have kissed since getting married. I think guys this bitch is once his lollipop. Overwhelmed by the idea of exchanging saliva, she runs inside to vomit, leaving everyone wondering what kind of princess this is and guys what do you think about this princesses? Suddenly, an older, intimidating elf steps out of the shadows. He introduces himself as Jade, the eldest son of the previous Wing King and the older brother of the timid princess, Nephritis. He warns that obtaining the Ring of Wind from her won't be easy. When Satou asks who he is, Jade confirms his identity and, realizing Satou is the Ring King, orders his soldiers to detain him. Satou is dragged off to a cell, leaving the others as state guests. Confused, Satou wonders what he did wrong. Jade visits him in the cell and explains that his sister is extremely delicate and timid. Satou agrees, saying she seemed pretty immature, which annoys Jade, who angrily defends her. He calls her an angel and explains that her shyness comes from rarely leaving the palace or even their nation. He reveals that Nephritis is only 54 years old, too young to marry by elf standards, shocking Satou. Jade insists that Satou must wait patiently for her to grow up, estimating it will take around 80 more years. Satou, horrified, yells that he'll be dead by then, but Jade coldly dismisses his protests, showing no concern for Satou's human lifespan. As Jade steps out of the prison, one of his attendants asks if he's certain about his decision. Jade coldly replies that he doesn't care about the Abyss King, stating that the nation is protected as long as the Tempest Wall stands. He adds that the only thing that truly matters is safeguarding the Ring of Wind, which powers the wall and ensures their safety. 3 days later, Satou is still locked up, realizing that this isn't some kind of joke. As he stews over his situation, a mysterious hot woman suddenly appears in his cell, shocking him. Before he can react, she pins him down, telling him she wants a ride, but before that she asks why he's so intent on gathering the 5 rings. Satou clenches his fists and replies that all he wants is to live a happy married life with Hime, amusing her. She chuckles, calling him weirdo, and mocks him for wanting to use the immense power of the rings for just one woman. The woman then opens a hidden door and urges him to follow her, leaving Satou stunned. When he asks why she's helping him, she explains that she's responsible for overseeing Ronka's future, and believes he's the only one capable of standing against the Abyss King. She also reveals that Jade knows this but imprisoned him anyway to prioritize the Tempest Wall. Satou follows her to the Wind Temple, where the Wind Ring is kept. Upon seeing the statue holding the ring, Satou is awestruck. The woman explains that this is the Wind Regalia, one of the Rings of Power. She adds that Nephritis should have inherited it, shocking Satou. Overwhelmed, he immediately considers leading a justice for Nephritis' protest to ensure she claims her rightful inheritance. As Satou and the Elder examine the Wind Temple, they suddenly spot someone wobbling into the temple, prompting them to quickly hide. To their surprise, the figure turns out to be Nephritis. She kneels before the statues of her parents and pledges never to leave the nation to follow the Ring King. Satou, finding this ridiculous, mutters that praying to statues is pointless and says this bitch is really mad. The Elder corrects him, explaining that those aren't just statues, they are her petrified parents. Even after death, they use the power of the Wind Ring to maintain the protective Tempest Wall around the nation. Shocked, Satou gasps, accidentally making a noise that exposes their hiding spot. Panicking, he starts making bird sounds to cover it up, but the Elder immediately calls him a head, reminding him there are no birds in the Wind Temple. Nephritis notices them and calls them out. Satou, in a last-ditch effort, reveals himself as the Ring King, causing her to faint on the spot. Hearing the commotion, a guard outside grows concerned and asks what's happening with the princess. The Elder quickly tells Satou it's time to leave and instructs him to bring Nephritis along, shocking him. Begrudgingly, Satou carries her as they escape the temple. Shortly after they leave, an exceptionally ugly guard enters the temple and realizes Nephritis is missing. Alarmed, he rushes to inform Jade, who immediately becomes worried and begins searching for his sister. The elder takes Satou and the unconscious Nephritis to a hidden room. While Nephritis is still out cold, the elder tells Satou that although the elf princess seems timid, she's stronger than she appears. She advises him to be a bit assertive in convincing her to give up the ring, as she might need a push. The elder then leaves him alone with Nephritis. Satou, unsure what to do, simply sits awkwardly until Nephritis regains consciousness. The moment she sees him, she panics, becoming frightened and, once again, vomiting out of sheer anxiety. Meanwhile, Jade visits Satou's cell only to find it empty. Realizing Satou's escape, he immediately assumes the Ring King is behind his sister's disappearance. Furious, he prepares to act when the elder appears and informs him that the Ring King has eloped with the Maiden of the Wind Ring. Jade is horrified, fearing his sister will no longer say she loves him. The elder sharply rebukes Jade, pointing out that his actions were never in Nephritis's best interest. Jade reluctantly agrees, admitting that the Wind Ring remains with their petrified parents, keeping the nation safe. He argues that Nephritis doesn't need to inherit the ring. Still determined to regain control, Jade declares he will have Nephritis's quarters searched immediately. Meanwhile, Satou and Nephritis are doing some foreplay chatting, asking each other random questions. She asks about his world, and he tells her it's peaceful, not the terrifying place she had imagined. Curious, she asks if there are elves in his world. He replies no and asks if she's interested in his world. She admits she is but says she's afraid to leave the palace. Instead, she reads books the elder brings her, which allow her to imagine what the outside world is like. Hearing this, Satou shares that he feels the same in a way. He didn't come to this world because of special powers or destiny. He came because he didn't want to be separated from the woman he loves. He encourages her, saying that taking a leap of faith worked out better than he expected. This excites Nephritis, and she enthusiastically shows him big cannons, embarrassing him with her cannons. Satou then asks why she's never left the palace if she's so interested in the outside world. She falls silent for a moment, clearly uncomfortable. Just as she's about to answer, Jade's voice interrupts them from outside, calling for her. Satou quickly puts on his shirt and reassures her that he won't force her to marry him just to collect the rings. He tells her she's free to make her own choices. A few moments later, they step outside, only to be confronted by Jade, who immediately loses his temper upon seeing them together. Nephritis defends Satou, saying he's not the kind of man they think he is, but Jade ignores her. He reminds her of the promises they made to their parents, pressuring her to submit to him. Overwhelmed, Nephritis gives in, much to Satou's frustration, as Jade starts listing Satou's offenses with increasing fury. The elder suddenly steps in, taking responsibility for everything that happened. She sternly tells Jade that the way he treated the Ring King is unacceptable. She announces that she will be taking charge of Satou from now on. Jade reluctantly agrees but warns them never to appear before Nephritis again. Later, as Satou and Hime talk, the elder introduces herself as Peridot, the oldest elf in Ronka. Hime politely introduces herself, but Satou cuts to the chase, asking if Nephritis's parents had something to do with her current state. Peridot decides to share the history of Ronka and the origin of the Tempest Wall. She explains that Nephritis and Jade's mother wasn't originally meant to inherit the rings. She had an elder sister, the rightful heir. According to Elven tradition, princesses were required to marry someone from within the village to ensure the rings remained in the nation and protected its people. However, the eldest princess fell in love with a human traveler. This caused an uproar among the elves, who feared that if the traveler received the ring, he might take it out of the village. Rumors and paranoia grew, eventually solidifying into hostility toward the traveler. The more the elves opposed the relationship, the stronger the princess's love for the traveler became. But one day, the traveler vanished, either driven off by the villagers or forced to leave to protect the rings. The villagers were relieved, but the eldest princess was devastated. Her despair turned to anger, and she placed a curse on the village before leaving. The elves lived in constant fear of her revenge. Eventually, Nephritis and Jade's parents inherited the rings, but they too were plagued by the lingering fear of the curse. To protect the nation from potential danger, they used the power of the rings to create the Tempest Wall. This magical barrier safeguarded the village but came at the cost of their lives. Before their sacrifice, Nephritis's mother made her and Jade promise never to venture outside the wall, sealing their fate and leaving the nation isolated to this day. Peridot concludes by saying that this history is the root of the nation's current state and Nephritis's fears. Following Peridot's story, Alabaster suggests that they abandon the idea of obtaining the Ring of Wind for now, shocking Satou. He protests, reminding them that the Abyss King's forces could be advancing as they speak, so they can't afford to delay in Ronka any longer. Peridot reassures him that they aren't completely giving up on the ring, but Satou needs to focus on obtaining the other rings quickly, as he's still too weak to deal with the current situation. Reluctantly, Satou agrees, though he remains concerned about nephritis. The group prepares to leave, with Jade expressing satisfaction that the old, dusty tale of the Ring King is finally being left behind. A story so ancient that even the long-lived elves doubt its truth. However, their conversation is interrupted when a servant rushes in, panicked, reporting that abyss monsters have breached the Tempest Wall. The elves, known for their pride in their magical barrier, are stunned. The servant continues, explaining that a powerful monster has created a hole in the wall, and is sending subordinate monsters to swarm the kingdom like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. As Satou and his group head out of the city, they witness countless monsters pouring in and making their way toward the palace. Alabaster immediately declares that they need to turn back to protect the rings. Without hesitation, he kisses Satou, energizing him for the impending battle. As the monsters wreak havoc in the kingdom, Peridot confronts Nephritis, urging her to take action. Nephritis, overwhelmed with fear and guilt, refuses to leave her room, saying she promised her mother she would stay safe within the palace. Frustrated, Peridot tells her that if she remains useless to the nation, she might as well turn herself into stone, further shaking Nephritis's resolve. Meanwhile, Mr. Halloween infiltrates the Wind Temple and attempts to claim the rings. Jade confronts him, launching an attack, but the knight easily swats him away like an insect. Realizing the strength of his opponent, Jade refuses to back down, vowing to protect his parents' legacy. The knight, unimpressed, decides to send Jade to join his parents in death, unleashing a devastating attack. However, Alabaster appears just in time, blocking the strike with his magical staff and saving Jade. Jade, stunned, asks Satou why they returned. Satou boldly replies, "We just saved your ass, dude," and declares that this time he has the power to defeat the knight. Mars warns Satou to be careful and avoid recklessness, as the Ring King is irreplaceable. Ignoring the caution, Satou charges at the knight with his glowing weapon, while Alabaster provides magical support. Despite their combined efforts, the knight proves overwhelmingly powerful, brushing aside their attacks with ease. Mocking Satou, the knight calls him a weak fool who thinks he can win by spouting empty motivational speeches. Observing the battle, Jade grimly admits they are too weak to counter all of the knight's magic and are fighting a hopeless battle with no chance of victory. However, tells Jade that Satou already knows the odds are against him, yet he still fights to protect Nephritis. Inspired by Satou's determination, Jade stands up, declaring that he will also protect his sister because it's the purpose he's lived for ever since they swore their oath to their parents. Meanwhile, Satou takes another devastating hit from the knight, knocked down and feeling ashamed. He mutters to himself that he thought he'd perform better this time. Observing his struggle, Hime realizes that her kiss alone won't be enough to help him win this battle. So, Hime immediately runs out of the Wind Temple and heads for Nephritis's room. Meanwhile, Alabaster suggests that they retreat, but Satou firmly replies that they can't abandon the temple. They must stop the monster from taking the wind rings. Peridot rushes into the temple to report that Hime has gone to summon Nephritis, shocking Satou. She explains that Hime is doing it out of concern for him. Peridot then faces the Abyss Knight, who has been patiently waiting for them to finish talking. Meanwhile, Hime stands outside Nephritis's door and bluntly tells her to marry Satou, leaving Nephritis stunned. Hime continues, reminding her that her parents sacrificed their lives to protect her and the rings, creating the wind barrier to safeguard the nation. Hime acknowledges that it's a heavy burden to bear, but insists that Nephritis, as the heir, must take on the responsibility. She admits she was once powerless too, unable to do anything but rely on others to protect her. Nephritis, still hesitant, responds that she's not like Hime and believes her parents sacrificed themselves to shield her from inheriting the ring. Hime counters, telling her not to waste the sacrifice her parents made and that everyone is fighting for the rings and the nation. They need her to join the fight too. Nephritis objects again, claiming the others are simply fulfilling the responsibilities of those who bear the rings. Hime then passionately explains that Satou isn't fighting because of duty. He's fighting because it's Nephritis's home, and he cares about her. She praises Satou as someone kind and willing to risk everything to protect those dear to him, even if it might cost him his life. Overwhelmed, Hime starts to cry, pleading with Nephritis to marry Satou because Hime alone isn't strong enough to empower him. Shocked and moved, Nephritis slowly opens the door, 5 minutes later, Hime and Nephritis arrive at the Wind Temple with a massive sledgehammer, leaving everyone confused. Without explaining, they dash toward the statue holding the wind rings and shatter it into pieces, shocking Jade. The Abyss Knight watches without interfering as Nephritis picks up the wind rings, runs to Satou, and kisses him, giving him one ring while wearing the other. The wind barrier vanishes instantly, leaving everyone stunned, and Jade panics about the nation's future. Nephritis reassures him and locks fingers with Satou, combining the powers of the Rings of Light and Wind to unleash a massive burst of energy that wipes out the monsters. The Abyss Knight roars in pain as Satou charges, dodging its wind magic and stabbing the Halloween mask on its face, cracking it. The effort exhausts him, and he collapses immediately. Afterward, Satou wakes up to find himself surrounded by 2 angels who is sucking his dick. Sorry guys, I mean he remembers that he's now married to both of them. So he tells them let's do a But Satou is unlucky than you guys, so a stranger then walks in to thank him for saving Ronka, leaving him confused. Alabaster reveals that this is Princess Smaragdi, the elder sister of the former queen of Ronka, who ran away after placing a curse on the kingdom. Shocked, Satou asks what she's doing there, and Peridot explains that Smaragdi was the one behind the Halloween mask, further shocking him. Peridot reveals that Smaragdi had been corrupted by a dark ring manipulated by the Abyss King, which led to her actions. Satou, still processing everything, asks if they know anything concrete about the Abyss King. Peridot explains that after the legendary battle with the Ring King, the Abyss King lost his body and had his soul sealed in Vana. Alabaster adds that while no one has seen him, his minions continue to attack, and his black rings give rise to the Abyss Knights. Determined to move forward, Satou attempts to get up and start working on obtaining the remaining rings, but he's too weak to stand. Peridot reminds him that he could have died if he were a normal king without the power of the 2 rings, which he only managed to obtain with the help of the 2 princesses, surprising him. Nephritis immediately suggests that they relax and continue their threesome in the palace's hot spring to help him recover faster. Following this, while they engage in some shower, Nephritis shyly asks Hime how she can act like a proper wife. Hime teasingly replies, giving him a good BJ. Suddenly, Peridot appears, her presence as imposing as ever, and demands that they perform a demonstration for her to evaluate their BJ skills, leaving both Satou and the princesses almost left this world. Trying to muster courage, Nephritis moves towards Satou, intending to initiate the sum development. However, Satou, overwhelmed and blushing furiously, stops her, stating that he doesn't want them to feel pressured into doing something they're not ready for. Later that night, Smaragdi meets Alabaster and asks if he knows anything about her long-lost lover. He gives her a pendant that belonged to him, explaining that her lover left because he couldn't bear to see her ostracized for being with him. The next day, Satou and his team, along with Nephritis, leave for the next kingdom. Meanwhile, Smaragdi overhears the name Alabaster in a conversation with Peridot and realizes that the sage traveling with them is her long-lost lover. Later, Hime finding Satou and Nephritis in a position, which I don't know guys, tell me in the comment, seemingly about to shaking bed and screams in disappointment, claiming she should be in Nephritis's place. She wakes up suddenly in a forest, realizing it was all just a dream. She sees Satou serving food to Nephritis and sits down, expecting him to serve her too, but is shocked when he tells her to help herself. Meanwhile, Mars asks Alabaster which ring nation they are heading to next, and he replies that they plan to go to the Land of Water, the nation of dragonfolk, which excites Mars. Nephritis burns her mouth on hot food, and Satou immediately tends to her, making Hime jealous as she notices how close they have grown. Annoyed, she storms off, but Satou quickly chases after her. Suddenly, they hear a strange sound and turn to see a building materialize before them. As Satou tries to make sense of it, he realizes it's not just a building, it's an entire moving town, leaving him in shock. Alabaster, however, becomes excited and remarks that he never thought they'd encounter it here, confusing the others. He explains that this is the Land of Fire, home to wandering knights and cat people, shocking Satou further, who can't believe this moving town is actually a nation. Alabaster then declares that, despite their earlier plans, they must seize the opportunity to retrieve the Ring of Fire from the nation's princess, suggesting the Land of Water can wait. This decision visibly displeases Mars, and Satou notices, making him wonder why Mars is so eager to visit the Land of Water. Satou asks how they're supposed to get aboard the moving town, and Alabaster immediately calls out, asking for permission to come aboard. A long, narrow ladder is thrown down, but Nephritis, seeing the height, becomes frightened and suggests turning back. Satou reassures her like the perfect gentleman he is and offers to help her up the ladder. As they begin climbing, Satou, positioned behind Hime, finds himself accidentally enjoying the view, which you can't watch here. Upon boarding the moving town, Nephritis is awestruck by the sight of the bustling people and vibrant culture, exactly as her books had described the land of fire. Alabaster explains that the cat people lost their homeland during the era of the first Ring King, so they built their capital on wheels, creating a traveling nation. He adds that they became the world's most powerful knights, turning the moving town into the safest mobile market where travelers can find all sorts of goods whenever it passes by. He then suggests starting by requesting an audience with the Maiden of the Ring of Fire, but quickly notices that Nephritis and Hime are gone. The two girls, mesmerized by the sights, wander off, thinking Satou and the others are following them. When they realize they've separated from the group, Nephritis panics, unsure of what to do, but Hime tries to calm her. A friendly cat girl notices their distress and offers to help, directing them to the arena, the town's most prominent landmark, where it will be easier to reunite with their friends. Meanwhile, Satou, worried about his two wives being missing before he's even clapped them, starts to panic. Alabaster assures him the town is incredibly safe and insists there's only one logical place the girls could have gone. As they continue searching, Satou notices some cute cat girls staring at their group and begins to question just how safe the place really is. Mars explains that cat people value strength above all else, leading Satou to assume the girls are admiring his supposed strength. However, his confidence takes a hit when the cat girls approach Mars instead, commenting on his strong stance and inviting him for tea and possibly more. Mars modestly tells them Satou is actually stronger, but the cat girls laugh, assuming he's joking and complimenting his sense of humor, further damaging Satou's ego. Mars, unfazed, asks the girls how to meet the nation's princess, shocking them as they interpret his inquiry as a potential courting attempt, leaving Satou confused by their reaction. Meanwhile, Nephritis and Hime enjoy exploring the town and taking in the lively atmosphere while waiting for Satou and the others to arrive at the arena. Nephritis tells Hime that she sees her and Satou as being alike, surprising her. She explains that their kindness makes her feel as if she's being cared for by her parents whenever she's with them. Hime, shocked, immediately dismisses this as ridiculous, pointing out that Nephritis is old enough to be her grandmother. Embarrassed, Nephritis apologizes for unintentionally monopolizing Satou's attention, acknowledging that it must have made Hime jealous. Hime tries to deny it, but Nephritis insists, embarrassing her further as she shyly admits it's true. Nephritis then says this proves Hime truly loves Satou, unlike herself, who feels her feelings aren't as strong yet, though she admires him deeply. Their conversation is interrupted when an ugly man gets knocked down before them, revealing that the Fire Princess has beaten him in a fight. Satou, Mars, and Alabaster arrive at the arena, where they discover the Fire Princess is challenging and defeating suitors who wish to court her. Satou watches in shock as the princess ruthlessly defeats another man, realizing that he's in for serious trouble. The princess notices Satou's rings and immediately identifies him as the Ring King, declaring that if he wants to marry her, he must prove he's stronger than her. Still processing her words, Satou hesitates, but the princess charges at him and knocks him down with 2 quick strikes. Satou lies on the ground, stunned, as the princess expresses her disappointment, calling him weak and doubting his ability to fight the abyss monsters. She tells him to come back another day if he wants to challenge her again. The next day, Satou begins training with Mars, who repeatedly exposes how much of a weakling he is. After another round of training, Mars suggests a break, and while they eat, a talkative server explains that the Fire Princess's husband must be strong enough to beat her in a fight. He adds that none of the men in their nation, himself included, have been able to meet her standards, which is why she began seeking suitors from around the world. Hearing this, Satou wonders if he even stands a chance of defeating her. Alabaster immediately tells him not to entertain the idea with his current sword skills. Frustrated, Satou asks why he's training at all if he has no chance. Alabaster reminds him of the rings on his hand, shocking Satou. He questions if using magic is fair, and the talkative server responds that magic is as much a part of a fighter's strength as physical power. Alabaster elaborates, saying the magic of the rings is on another level, and if Satou can use it effectively, he might have a real chance of winning. Later, Satou watches the Fire Princess defeat another challenger in a single strike, sinking further into despair as his confidence plummets. He sits alone, brooding over his pathetic situation, until Hime shows up to comfort him, resting his head just below her chest to motivate him. Shortly after, he is summoned for magic training with Alabaster. After the training session, Satou heads to the spa for a scrub. While waiting his turn, he chats with Mars, who shares stories about his empire. Satou asks if Mars thinks he could have handled the Fire Princess if he had been the Ring King. Mars surprises him by admitting he isn't strong enough to beat her in a one-on-one fight either. As they talk, a girl approaches and asks if they'd like a scrub. Satou, thinking he might get lucky. But guys, I already told he is unluckier than you, only to be horrified when AA Hulk grabs him for the scrub. After enduring the forceful scrub, Satou is surprised to see the Fire Princess, Granart, enter the spa. She confidently approaches him, pulling her plot armor into play, and tells him to scrub her. Satou, flustered and nearly seizing, stammers that he's never touched a woman before. Granart dismisses his hesitation, saying if he can't defeat her in a fight, he might as well put his hands to good use. Reluctantly, Satou starts scrubbing her while she casually shares her frustrations about constantly fighting weak challengers. To his shock, she then offers to support him, explaining that it's the duty of a ring princess to aid the Ring King. She even offers to let him defeat her to obtain the ring, giving him full access to all his plots, leaving Satou completely stunned. However, Satou tells Granart not to go easy on him, vowing to win the fight for real. She smirks and encourages him to try his best. Determined, Satou begins training harder than ever. While pushing himself, he decides to stop focusing on physical strength alone and instead plans to rely on the power of the rings. The next morning, Satou wakes up feeling unexpectedly rejuvenated. As he stretches, he's startled when nephritis suddenly pops out from under his bed cover. Shocked, he asks how long she's been there, and she casually replies she's been there all along. She checks on his condition and explains that the ring's power also helps heal his body. Nephritis then asks if he's been working so hard for Granart, and Satou admits he has, though he doubts he can win despite his efforts. She encourages him, reminding him that he can win if he fully uses the power of the rings. She reassures him that no one will question the methods he uses as long as Granart acknowledges him as the Ring King. Since he must collect all the rings anyway, Nephritis insists that he should do what feels right. While she continues her subtly suspicious attempts to tempt him, Satou thanks her and stands up to leave, unfazed and uninterested in her advances. Later, Satou resumes training with Mars and pulls off a powerful move that surprises Mars, who commends him for his significant improvement. Excited, Satou asks if he now has a chance to defeat Granart. However, Mars quickly shuts him down, bluntly telling him it's still impossible as he's his weak 3-year-old girl, crushing Satou's newfound confidence. Mars explains to Satou that his earlier move won't work unless he can adapt to his opponent's unpredictable fighting style. He tells Satou that when he can replicate that move in real combat, he might finally land a hit on Granart. Mars adds that Satou now has a 1 in a million chance of defeating her, better than none at all, and advises him to rely on the ring's magic for an edge. Satou, however, stubbornly insists on being seen as a true Sigma male rather than someone who relies on magical crutches. Meanwhile, Hime, watching from a distance, overhears some cat girls gossiping about how Granart seems fond of Satou and even offered her body to him. Shocked, Hime later realizes they were referring to the time Granart let Satou scrub her back, but the thought of him touching Granart's body sends her into an embarrassed spiral. She starts imagining him grabbing her plot and becomes flustered, but ultimately decides she may have to stop trying to keep Satou to herself. The next day, Satou rechallenges Granart, and the crowd cheers as they prepare to fight. However, Hime isn't thrilled, knowing that winning might mean she'll have to share her man with another woman who has more cakes than her. As the fight begins, a defeated knight walks away from the arena, lamenting his loss and missed opportunity to become king. His fate changes when he stumbles upon an ominous black ring, which hypnotizes him. Under its influence, he returns to the arena, now a puppet of the Abyss King. As Satou is mid-speech, the knight-turned Abyss servant suddenly attacks, shocking everyone. Granart quickly blocks the strike but is caught off guard when the knight ignites in flames and summons Abyss monsters. A fire monster prepares to attack, but a cat girl dispatches it with a single strike, declaring that the cat people have prepared for this day. Granart orders the district to be detached from the rest of the moving town, ensuring no monsters can escape. While everyone evacuates the arena, Granart grabs her sword, thrilled to face a real challenge instead of the weaklings she's been fighting. She charges at the knight and lands a strike, but her sword melts on contact, shocking her. Satou tries to help by summoning wind magic to blow out the flames, but the attack rebounds and slams him into a wall. Frustrated, he admits he doesn't yet fully understand the ring's magic. Granart tells him to leave the fight to her, but he questions how she plans to win when her sword couldn't even scratch the knight earlier. Undeterred, Granart insists that as a descendant of the warriors who fought alongside the ancient Ring King, it's her duty to protect him, no matter how helpless he seems. Her words embarrass Satou but reignite his determination. Satou suggests a risky plan to draw the knight in close and focus entirely on extinguishing its flames. Granart hesitates but agrees after Satou insists he needs to prove he's not as weak as they all think. Calling out to the knight, Satou lures it closer with the rings. As it attacks, he activates the wind magic at full power, successfully extinguishing the flames. Granart seizes the moment and lands a brutal strike, weakening the knight. Satou then activates his lightsaber and charges, delivering a final blow that removes the black ring from the knight's hand, freeing him from the Abyss King's control. Granart, impressed, admits she underestimated him and, despite his lack of strength, recognizes him as her husband, shocking Satou. Satou, unwilling to accept Granart's acknowledgement out of pity, rejects her offer and challenges her to another fight. As the match begins, Granart charges at him with incredible speed, making it hard for him to react. Hime, frustrated, thinks Satou is foolish for refusing the ring when Granart was willing to give it. However, Nephritis encourages her to cheer for him, expressing her belief that Satou is fighting for her sake, surprising Hime. Granart urges Satou to use the power of the rings, but he refuses, stating that the ring's magic is borrowed strength from the princesses, not his own. He explains that even if he wins using the rings, it would still make him feel unworthy in front of his beloved. He declares he wants to fight to look cool for his most clapped wife, shocking Hime, who instantly cheers him on by loudly promising to let him best BJ that you have seen before if he wins. This unexpected comment shocks everyone, but Satou, ever the cultured idiot, grins and assumes his fighting stance. Suddenly, Satou finds himself in another realm and hears a strange voice, which he identifies as one of the rings speaking to him. The voice offers to help by reading Granart's next move and instructs him to focus entirely on its guidance to react faster. Satou hesitates, thinking it's still relying on outside power, but the voice assures him this is not borrowed strength, but an opportunity he's earned through his determination. Encouraged, Satou resumes his stance as Granart charges again. Granart moves swiftly, jumping into the air for an attack before Satou can fully react. The ring's voice alerts him to her position above, and he quickly counters with a powerful strike mid-air, sending Granart crashing to the ground. Stunned, Granart realizes she's been defeated for the first time. As Satou stands in disbelief, Granart suddenly lunges at him and kisses him passionately, acknowledging him as the first person to defeat her. She gives him the Ring of Fire, officially recognizing him as the Ring King. While Satou is still processing what just happened, Granart boldly requests that he wants to see his joystick shocking him. However, Satou, maintaining his composure as an alpha male, refuses and cheekily declares, "I deserve to taste my meat first," leaving Granart flustered and the crowd stunned. Later that night, Satou and Hime prepare to be clapped, but Satou can't go longer than 2 seconds, so he falls asleep before anything happens due to his exhaustion from using the ring's power. The next morning, he wakes up confused and wondering when he fell asleep. Hime pretends that she's riding his joystick all night, shocking him because he can't remember. Nephritis suddenly appears, revealing that nothing happened and declaring it's her turn next, only for Granart to appear behind her with a smug expression. That evening, Granart hosts a banquet to celebrate Satou as the Ring King and commends him for making her acknowledge him rather than giving up like a coward. Hime becomes jealous and gets drunk, surprising Satou, who takes her back to her room. She grabs him, asking for reassurance, and he tells her he was grateful for her cheering during the fight but wants to wait until they return to his world before they get cultured, as this one feels too strange. Hime insists on rewarding him for his hard work and offers to do anything he wants, surprising him. Satou, taking a chance, says he'd like to play with her melons. As he starts, Nephritis and Granart suddenly reveal they were watching, shocking them. Granart mocks them for being so slow and pounces on Satou to take her turn. But Nephritis and Hime intervene, hitting her to preserve Satou's purity, leaving him even more flustered. Following this, the group heads to the Land of Water, and Satou is amazed by the liveliness of the city. He quickly realizes that Mars is no longer with them, and Alabaster explains that he went ahead for other business. This reminds Satou of how eager Mars seemed to be about visiting the Land of Water. As Satou reflects, a young, creepy girl runs up to him with flowers, excitedly asking if he is the Ring King. When he confirms, she beams with excitement, declaring herself a huge fan, amusing him. She hands him the flowers, but as he takes them, she suddenly kisses him. The fourth ring instantly appears on his finger, shocking him. She mocks him, claiming she's heard rumors about him being a fool who simps for women, leaving him stunned. She then introduces herself as Sapphire, the Maiden of the Ring of Water, and boldly declares that she just made him her husband. Satou, taken aback by her boldness, asks Alabaster if this is even allowed. Alabaster confirms it is, and even thanks Sapphire for her quick cooperation. Sapphire glances at the other ring princesses and dismissively tells them to do as they please, doubting they'll form any deep connections anyway. Turning to Satou, she declares that as her husband, he is now the king of the land of water and must govern it peacefully. She then surprises him by asking him to follow her to use his power. Confused, Satou asks what's going on, and Sapphire bluntly replies that if nothing is done, her nation will perish, leaving him in shock. An angry, disheveled soldier approaches Sapphire, demanding she return to the palace. Ignoring him, she hugs Satou and declares him her husband, Bin Kine, whom she just married. The soldier, irritated, orders all of them to come to the palace. On their way, the group starts talking, and Satou realizes they are in Mars's nation. Sapphire explains that the Hezis Empire, Mars's kingdom, is humanity's largest nation, expanding its influence by forging alliances with many other nations. This revelation shocks Satou as he learns that the tired, grumpy soldier is Slutter, Mars's older brother and the first prince of Hezis. Alabaster further explains that Slutter is carrying out the Emperor's orders by taking over other nations, proving himself capable of leadership while sparing the ring-bearing nations. Satou asks if the Empire is evil, and Sapphire supports the claim, accusing them of using the excuse of protecting nations from abyss monsters as a cover for domination. Granart, however, argues that the Empire unites people to oppose the Abyss King's resurrection. Impressed by Granart's knowledge, Satou listens, but Sapphire dismissively calls her a lowly animal pretending to be wise, angering Granart. When they arrive at the palace and step off the chariot, they hear a strange noise. Sapphire quickly identifies it as a monster attack, saying the oracle's prediction was right again. A horrifying monster suddenly appears, shocking everyone. It immediately launches its legs at Satou, but he activates the fire ring, unleashing a massive inferno that forces the monster back. He then uses the light ring to empower his sword, delivering a decisive strike that bisects the creature. Sapphire is stunned by the display of the ring's power, and Slutter, having witnessed the battle, realizes that the legends surrounding the rings are not mere fairy tales after all. Following this, Sapphire takes Satou to her father to introduce him as the Ring King and declare him her husband, defying her father's plans to withhold the water ring from the Ring King. Slutter warns her to stop acting like a fool, pointing out that an army of monsters is already approaching the nation. Sapphire's father suddenly begins wailing like a child, lamenting that his daughter handed the ring over to the Ring King, just as the oracle predicted. He dramatically claims this act has doomed the nation to even greater disaster. Acting increasingly hysterical, he declares that the Ring King should never have come, prompting the oracle to escort him away before he embarrasses himself further. Satou, confused, asks Sapphire if the strange woman is her mother, which annoys her. She explains that the woman is the palace oracle, who has influenced her father so much that he's become the fool they now see, a far cry from the wise king he once was. As they walk through the palace, they encounter an angry woman, accusing Sapphire of breaking their oath to fulfill the duty of the ring princess. Sapphire apologizes and introduces her as Saphira, her twin sister, shocking Satou. Saphira immediately criticizes Sapphire for marrying a man as unattractive as Satou, deeply damaging his confidence. Granart chimes in, acknowledging Satou's victory over her but questioning his reliability as a warrior, further deflating him. Nephritis delivers the final blow by saying she can't comment on his looks because, as an elf, she doesn't understand human aesthetics. Sapphire reassures her sister that she no longer needs to marry the Ring King, so she shouldn't worry about his appearance. At that moment, Mars steps forward, calling out to Saphira. He reminds her of the promise he made to her long ago, but Saphira cuts him off, saying she doesn't want to hear his voice, and storms off. Sapphire mocks Mars, calling him useless and making him feel terrible. Despite this, he quickly follows after Saphira. Satou, surprised by the scene, realizes this is why Mars was so eager to visit the land of water. Sapphire confirms that Mars and Saphira had once sworn their love for each other and begins recounting their story. Long ago, the Hezis Empire sought to expand beyond its human territories and invaded the land of water. When they failed to conquer it through force, they turned to diplomacy, sending Mars to live among the people. Mars and Saphira grew close during his time there, and despite being tasked with spying on the land, Mars abandoned his mission out of love for her. When Mars was summoned back to the Empire, he promised Saphira he would return for her. Months later, he sent her a letter explaining that he was being ordered to become the Ring King by the Emperor, and planned to use this position to reunite with her. However, Mars ultimately abandoned his role as the Ring King, entrusting the responsibility to a stranger who had appeared from another world. Back in the present, Mars catches up with Saphira and confesses that his feelings for her have changed, though he still cares for her deeply. Saphira coldly asks why he didn't become the Ring King as promised, and Mars admits he didn't feel worthy. Hearing this, she tells him she doesn't understand him anymore and walks away, leaving him devastated on his knees. Returning to the story, not long after Mars abandoned the role of the Ring King, the Oracle appeared. Initially dismissed as a fraud, her predictions began to come true, particularly when they helped drive off monsters. Her accuracy gained the king's trust, and he placed her at his side, though this eventually turned him into a shadow of his former self. Satou, suspicious of the Oracle, asks Saphir if she believes the Empire sent her. Saphir agrees there might be a connection and vows to expose her. Meanwhile, the Oracle, angry at being outsmarted by Saphir, orders assassins to eliminate the Ring King and steal the rings from him. At midnight, the assassins infiltrate Satou's lodge, only to find him living like Dan Bilzerian. However, they quickly notice something odd: the cat girl is missing. She suddenly appears behind them and swiftly incapacitates the group, demonstrating that they aren't skilled enough for the job. While inspecting their unconscious bodies, Granard is surprised to find they are human. Before she can act further, one of the assassins detonates a gas bomb, allowing them to escape. Granard begins to wonder if these assassins are truly servants of the Emperor. The next day, while Satou and his team head to a sunbathing area, an assassin attempts to fire an arrow at him. Alabaster quickly intercepts it with his magic, preventing any harm. Later, at the beach, Satou and Nephritis enjoy playing in the water. Granard begins acting suspiciously, attempting to tempt Satou with her dancing, but he firmly tells her there's an order to how he satisfies them. Hime notices the situation from afar and rushes over, declaring that she should be first. Meanwhile, Nephritis casually tells Satou that she doesn't mind whether she's first or last, as long as she gets a share of his Saphir, disgusted by their antics, calls them all idiots for acting so immaturely and suggests a swimming contest to determine who gets to go first. Granard, however, refuses, admitting that she's scared of water. While the other girls continue bickering, Saphir advises Satou to stay vigilant and avoid letting his guard down, warning that the Oracle hasn't given up yet. Later, Satou talks with Mars and asks why he gave up the role of Ring King, especially when it meant giving up the chance to marry Saphira. Mars admits that the burden was too great for him, but Satou isn't convinced, saying that marrying Saphira should have been enough motivation. Mars then reveals that he couldn't bear to let his ambitions get in the way of Hime's happiness when he saw how overjoyed she was to be reunited with the one she truly loved. His words shock Satou, making him realize the depth of Mars's sacrifice. Later that night, Mars meets his brother Slutter, pleading for him to reconsider his plans against the Land of Water. Slutter dismisses him, praising Mars for gaining the Ring King's trust and instructing him to continue reporting to the Empire. Disheartened, Mars leaves and encounters the Oracle, who orders him to steal the rings. She reveals that an army of monsters will attack in 3 days and tells Mars to use the chaos to assassinate Satou, claiming it's his chance to correct past failures and earn his father's forgiveness. Mars questions her identity, suspecting she's an Imperial spy, but she denies it, saying her predictions always come true. She manipulates him further, insisting that Satou is an outsider unfit for this world and that Mars was the rightful Ring King. She gives him an ancient sword that can nullify magic and assures him it will make him unstoppable. Mars spends the night reflecting on his father's disappointment in being labeled a failure. He stumbles upon Saphira bathing outdoors and admires her beauty, but she runs off, embarrassed by his presence. Feeling even more defeated, Mars grips the sword. When its gem glows, it hypnotizes him, hardening his heart. He resolves to follow the Oracle's orders, believing it's his only path forward. 2 days later, in the palace hall, Slutter briefs the army, telling Satou his powers won't be needed yet to avoid disrupting coordination. Feeling useless, Satou waits outside, where Hime kisses him for good luck, embarrassing him. Granart joins in, claiming it's her right as his wife, while Nephritis shyly gives him a peck, making Hime jealous. Saphir, annoyed, calls them immature, but Alabaster defends them, saying their bonds strengthen the Ring King's power. Meanwhile, Mars grows conflicted, torn between his orders and his emotions. On the battlefield, soldiers fight monsters under Slutter's command, but a giant monster is spotted heading for the palace. Slutter refuses to divert troops, insisting the palace will manage. At the palace, the monster appears, and the women retreat inside, leaving Satou, Alabaster, and Mars to face it. Suddenly, Mars attacks Satou, but Alabaster saves him just in time. Satou tries reasoning with Mars, who reveals his duty to take the rings for the Empire. Alabaster warns that Mars is being controlled, but Satou refuses to fight back, still trying to talk him down. When Satou attempts to use the ring's magic, Mars deflects it with a distortion sword. The ring advises Satou to use overwhelming power to destroy Mars, but Satou refuses, unwilling to kill him. Observing Mars's hesitation, Satou realizes Mars is holding back, giving him hope he can still reach him. Within the palace, the ring princesses rush to see Mars fighting Satou. Mars lands a minor strike, revealing he's holding back. Satou calls him kind and refuses to fight, encouraging him to join the Ring King's mission. The rings guide Satou to destroy the gem on Mars's sword, freeing him from the Oracle's influence. Enraged, the Oracle summons a massive monster that captures Saphira. Mars proposes to her in defiance, distracting the Oracle long enough for Satou to free Saphira. Saphir activates the Ring of Water, transforming into a dragonfolk, and defeats the monster. Defeated, the Oracle vanishes. Back at the palace, the rejuvenated king thanks everyone and approves Mars and Saphira's marriage, leaving Hime jealous. Slutter returns to the Empire, vowing to uncover the Oracle's ties to the monsters. Meanwhile, the Oracle meets the Emperor, who rejects her control and declares humanity's dominance over gods and monsters. At the palace, Satou is overwhelmed as the ring princesses fight for his attention. Saphir, annoyed, jokes about using her rose toy, but Nephritis reminds them of their bond with Satou, leaving everyone in awkward competition, surrounded by the ring princesses. However, realizing he can't meet the expectations of 4 women in one night, he tries to smooth talk his way out by claiming Hime is the only woman for him. Nephritis humbly accepts being an afterthought like a true real queen. Granart agrees as long as she gets her share of attention, and Saphir says she's fine as long as he treats her like drill machine. Overwhelmed by their enthusiasm, noticing his frustration, Granart starts crying and guilt-tripping him for neglecting them. But when that fails, she boldly pounces on him, forgetting all notions of consent. Satou suddenly hears a mysterious voice mocking him for hesitating while living the dreams of someone like you. He demands to know the voice's identity, but before getting an answer, he wakes up to find himself still surrounded by the princesses. Looking at Hime sleeping beside him, Satou fears she might leave him for a SoundCloud rapper if he doesn't treat her right. He wakes her up and suggests they go out for a change. Hime, surprised, listens as Satou explains how they've been stuck in the palace and should do it in the bushes. Before Hime can respond, Nephritis eagerly volunteers, but Satou shuts her down, telling her to settle for his body pillow, leaving her heartbroken. Saphir chimes in, insisting Satou stay indoors to recover his strength as the Ring King. Granart finally steps in, telling Nephritis to let Hime and Satou have their time and promising to show her the power of 2 fingers and 1 tongue later. With the situation diffused, Hime goes to freshen up. Satou asks Alabaster for some money, prompting the old man to tease him about being ready for adventures. Annoyed, Satou tells him to stop sounding like his cultured uncle. As Alabaster hands over the cash, Hime enters, looking as homeless as ever. Alabaster jokes again about how this world isn't Japan and people have babies early here. Ignoring him, Satou and Hime leave for their date, only to be followed closely by Granart, Nephritis, and Saphir, who are determined not to let Hime monopolize him. Granart declares that, as a communist, Satou's meat should be shared equally. During the date, NPC townsfolk treat Satou like a celebrity, some impressed and others puzzled by his appeal. Hime notes that it feels more like a meet and greet than a date but doesn't mind as long as Satou is happy. While eating at a restaurant, Hime admires Satou's enthusiasm for his food, secretly imagining his face as her seat cushion. Meanwhile, the other princesses watch from afar, with Nephritis expressing sadness over Satou's affection for Hime. Granart encourages her to disrupt things so Hime doesn't keep Satou to herself. After dinner, Satou and Hime stroll to a pond known as a romantic spot. Watching couples kiss, Satou debates whether to make a move, but his nerves get the best of him. He tells Hime he can't be indecent in public out of respect for his upbringing. disappointing the princesses spying on them. Realizing they won't see anything spicy, the princesses leave in frustration. As their date ends, Satou takes Hime to a hill to enjoy the view. Hime smiles and tells him he's still her hero, even if he doesn't make thirst traps. Satou then admits he wanted this date because he felt they hadn't done normal couple things. Hime thanks him but insists it's unfair to the other princesses who are waiting for his attention. Frustrated, Satou declares that she's his number one, but Hime gently reasons that the other princesses are doing their best to support him as the Ring King. Realizing her selflessness, Satou kisses her passionately to show he only wants her, leaving her thrilled. Hime, blushing, tells him she doesn't want the night to end just yet. Out of nowhere, the entrance to a love hotel opens, and an old hag slyly suggests the couple take a rest inside. Satou gets ready for action, but Hime chickens out, claiming she wants to cosplay as mommy milkers. The next day, Alabaster informs the group it's time to pack up and board the Scooby carriage. Sapphire bids Saphira goodbye, promising to take care of Satou in her absence. Inside the carriage, Alabaster announces their next destination is the Land of Earth, once inhabited by dwarves who were nearly wiped out during the battle between the Ring King and the Abyss King. Upon arriving at the mountainous region 3 days later, Satou's excitement wanes as he complains about wandering aimlessly in the mountains. He warns everyone to watch their steps to avoid falling into a massive hole nearby. The girls peer inside and spot monster remains, prompting Alabaster to explain that this area, the Great Mountain Wall Hollow, was a major battlefield during the Abyss King's age. Granart returns from scouting ahead and confirms the path is clear. Satou confidently suggests using dragon transformations to defeat any monsters they encounter, but Sapphire snaps back, explaining how taxing it is. Realizing their ignorance about the effort required, Sapphire scolds the group for their lack of training. Mars suggests they rest for the day, acknowledging their collective lack of brain power. While at camp, Satou sits with Alabaster and jokingly asks if he's truly a wise sage or just a creepy man with a candy van. He confesses feeling like a third wheel in the polyamorous dynamic, unappreciated and lacking purpose. Alabaster wisely reminds him the world is vast, and not everyone will rely on him. Misinterpreting this, Satou declares the rings useless. Backtracking, Alabaster warns of the Abyss King's immeasurable power, and the need for the rings to combat him. Satou finally understands his role and resolves to level up his Sigma points. Alabaster sighs, reflecting on simpler times. The next day, they reach Adanan, the ruined capital of the Land of Earth. Satou marvels at the destruction, prompting Alabaster to recount how the Abyss King's relentless attacks led to the dwarves' near extinction. As they search for the Earth Ring, Sapphire lazily suggests she'll rest while they explore. Granart reminds her of the Abyss King's nearby domain, but Sapphire dismisses her concerns. The group discovers what looks like a throne room, where Satou panics upon spotting a lifeless humanoid figure. Alabaster calms him, explaining it's a sorcerer unit, a device crafted by dwarves powered by magic. Nephritis adds that the dwarves made numerous magical inventions. Satou wonders aloud how such an advanced race vanished, and the mystery of the dwarves' fate lingers as the group delves deeper into the ruins. Suddenly, the sorcerer unit activates and attacks the group. While dodging its strikes, Alabaster realizes it's being controlled by the Abyss King. With a burst of magic, it traps Satou behind a magical barrier, ignoring the others. Alone, the puppet delivers the Abyss King's message, urging Satou to abandon his fight as he's an outsider. Satou declares his loyalty to Hime and her world, vowing to protect it. Alabaster breaks the barrier, allowing Hime to kiss Satou and boost his magic, which he uses to defeat the sorcerer. Afterward, Nephritis wonders if the dwarves hated them. Alabaster explains that the puppet's words were corrupted by darkness. Suddenly, the black rings vanish from Alabaster's hands, signaling the Abyss King's resurrection. Before they can relax, a horde of abyssal monsters appears. Sapphire, unable to transform without water nearby, leaves the group out of options. Alabaster tells Satou to prepare for battle, but after a feeble fight, the group tries to escape, only to realize they're trapped as the Abyss King has fully resurrected. Alabaster, dejected, tells Satou they need all 5 rings to access the Ring King's full power. Satou tries to motivate him, but Alabaster warns the Abyss King won't let them succeed easily. Opening a portal, Alabaster orders Satou to take the princesses to safety. Despite Satou's pleas, Alabaster stays behind to close the portal, telling Satou to let the princesses live independently. The portal vanishes, leaving Alabaster and Mars behind to face the monsters. Before fighting, Alabaster apologizes, but Mars says it's an honor to stand beside him. Back in their world, Satou and Hime take the girls shopping. Nephritis, Granart, and Sapphire try on trendy clothes, deciding that retail therapy is better than saving the world. While they admire their outfits, Satou overhears NPCs gossiping about Sapphire's horns and Nephritis's ears, worrying it'll make him look bad. However, he's distracted by Hime laughing over clothes, realizing she's moved on from Alabaster surprisingly quickly. Later, at a restaurant, Sapphire suggests finding a way back to their world. Granart proposes searching for areas closer to their reality. Despite searching all day, they find no leads. After bathing, the girls return to their rooms, leaving Hime and Satou alone. Satou asks what kinds of flavors you buy. Granart later explains that when she returned, she found a letter from Alabaster in her room. The note detailed how he had left her a house and money in case things didn't go as planned. As Hime cries on Satou's shoulder, he awkwardly wonders when it would be appropriate to ask her for something inappropriate. The next day, Satou and Hime return to school. Satou's friends ask what he's been up to, but since he can't exactly tell them about his new cake-filled life, he nervously laughs to dodge the question. Over time, the princesses adjust to their new home. Nephritis studies Satou's world. Granart bonds with cats while plotting world domination, and Sapphire mostly keeps to herself. However, Satou is weighed down by guilt and frequently visits the spot where the portal dropped them off. One day, Hime follows him to the forest and asks why he keeps coming there. Frustrated, Satou admits he worries the princesses might fall into despair due to homesickness. Hime reminds him of Alabaster's wish for him to give them a good life. Annoyed, Satou pushes her away, tempted to say, "You can't make a wife out of a hoe." But before he can, a blinding light interrupts them. A shrine door opens, and an odd-looking girl appears, introducing herself as the protector of the Ring of Earth, Amber Adanin. When she sees Hime's bonkers pressed against Satou, she turns to leave, but Satou stops her, demanding an explanation. Amber reveals she is a vessel created to hold the Ring of Earth after the war with the Abyss King, explaining that the few remaining dwarves lack the numbers to rebuild their population. Amber, a replica of the dwarf princess, was sent to Satou's world to protect the ring. She tells Satou she's waited centuries for him and goes to hug him, but Hime yells at her to stop, declaring they don't want to save their world from the Abyss King anymore. Disappointed, Amber turns to leave, but not before telling Satou she'll be waiting if he ever changes his mind. The next day, Granart complains to Satou about her dusty basement and demands his new apartment. Satou brushes her off, saying he doesn't have time to play final boss for her or anyone else. Trying to change the subject, Satou starts to mention Amber, but Hime interrupts, demanding a private conversation. Alone, she warns him to forget about the gender-confused princess and reminds him he's too weak to defeat the Abyss King anyway. Instead, she suggests they all go out for hot wings to cheer up. Later, Satou takes a walk and runs into Amber, who reveals she's been posing as Aunt Karen to blend in. While walking, Amber stops by a fruit stall and shares how the fruit seller's family cared for her shrine for years. That night, Amber gets straight to the point and tells Satou she can teleport him back to Arnis. When she visits again the next day, Amber asks if he's ready to return or if she should just stick to making cringe TikToks. Satou admits he's uncertain because Hime doesn't believe in him. Amber, unbothered, praises side chicks and assures him the power of the rings is absolute, promising to watch over him regardless of his choice. Determined, Satou finally decides to return to Arnis. After some tongue action with Amber to seal the contract, he receives the Ring of Earth and heads home, but Satou declares his decision to return to Arnis. Hime objects, saying she wants to stay in this world and start a family. Frustrated, Satou asks if being a ring princess means nothing to her. He convinces her to shoulder the responsibility of saving Arnis together. Impressed, Hime suggests they celebrate, but Amber interrupts, reminding them it's no time for distractions. Granart bursts in, carrying Nephritis and Sapphire, revealing she already knew about their plans. Hime apologizes for keeping her in the dark, but Granart shrugs it off, saying they have bigger issues. With that, the group teleports back to Arnis, landing in the ruins of Adanin's palace. Amber looks around in despair at what was once her home. Granart warns everyone to stay alert as she smells blood. Using her built-in light, Amber illuminates the area, revealing thousands of corpses, monsters and humans alike. Granart solemnly remarks that no one was left to bury the dead, leaving Satou and the others wondering if Arnis is already beyond saving. Granart's ears twitch, and she suddenly dashes toward a hill. The group follows, discovering a battalion of Imperial soldiers battling massive black monsters. Relieved to see survivors, Satou steels himself for action as his rings begin to glow. Across the battlefield, the Abyss King uses his black rings to obliterate the soldiers. Amber advises Satou to make a sneak attack for an upper hand. Fueled by Hime's worried call, Satou charges into battle, unleashing powerful ring attacks to weaken the Abyss King's forces. After clearing the field, Satou faces the Abyss King one-on-one. As their standoff begins, the rings unite into a powerful single artifact, radiating immense power. With this newfound strength, Satou annihilates the Abyss King's monstrous creations. However, after exerting himself, Satou collapses, gasping for breath. From afar, the ring princesses ask Granard if he won. Her grim expression says otherwise, shocking everyone, including the voice of the rings, which had been certain of Satou's victory. The Abyss King mocks Satou as an ignorant puppet. Granard, refusing to stand by, leads the princesses in protecting Satou. Just as the Abyss King prepares to devour him, the princesses intervene. Envious of Satou's support, the Abyss King creates massive goblins to attack them. Before the goblins can strike, Satou blacks out, lost in dreamlike memories of his time with Hime and the others. The memories shatter as his life begins to slip away. Suddenly, Satou wakes up, greeted by Alabaster. At first, he believes he's in the afterlife, but the sage reveals they're all alive. Alabaster explains that, at the last moment, Smaragdi, the elven woman, saved him and Mars. Smaragdi admits she couldn't sit by while Alabaster was in danger. The group learns that Mars is also safe and fighting nearby. Weakly, Satou apologizes for failing to defeat the Abyss King. Alabaster assures him that the Abyss King retreated with his monsters, meaning Satou managed to wound him. Encouraged by the news, Satou regains some hope. Arriving in a nearby village, the group is warmly welcomed by civilians, overjoyed to see the return of the Ring King. Saphir confronts Alabaster about their failure to defeat the Abyss King, and Satou joins in, questioning his own strength. Alabaster admits the Black Rings weren't part of the original legends and suggests Satou needs to deepen his bonds with the princesses to unlock their full power. Mars arrives, happy to see Satou alive, while Alabaster explains the princesses must fight alongside Satou, as in the legends. Granard points out that while she, Amber, and Saphir are ready, Nephritis and Hime are hopeless in combat. Alabaster announces a wife training program to prepare them. The next day, Alabaster introduces their new trainer, Morian, his younger sister, who arrives ready to whip the princesses into shape. That's it for today's video, guys. Tell me in the comment, how many princesses would you need to become powerful?
Take you